Yeah, so Sylvie here is a senior artist in Caravan.
Yeah, and she'll be giving us the insightful feedbacks today.
What do you do in
Huh.
Caravan, Sylvie?
I do mostly illustrations. Sometimes I do for card games, sometimes I do splash arts. And the other times it's for, well, it's a long time ago really, but I do little things for D&D books, things like that. Illustrations mostly.
Yeah, that's quite a lot. Impressive
Yes.
too. Yeah.
I mean, if you have been working for like at least 7 years, yeah, you should be doing a lot. Otherwise, what are you there for, right?
That's true. That
Wow.
is true. The
When you
experience
put it
all
that
builds up
way.
from the years.
Well, I'm not
Yes.
the best in the industry. I'm really sure that there's like quite a lot of people that are really good out there, but I'm also hoping that there is something that you can take from today's session.
I hope so.
Yeah, I believe it definitely will help. So don't worry. Don't worry. Okay. So shall we start?
Screen sharing them?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes, please.
let
And this is our first hour for today. Andrew's fan art on
me do first.
Andrew's fan art on Ahri's we suppose it's Ahri. But yeah, Ahri's fan art on it. And yeah, it looks quite good already. So does Miss Sylvia has any feedbacks about it?
So overall, as a composition, I really like it. Also, the perspective works for me. You can tell that it's a little bit tilting from upwards. And the material, I really love how translucent her tail looks. It looks really like magic, which should be. Um, if there are things that I may add, it's actually just a little bit here and there. But let's start from. Okay, the PO. This is. I'm going to close little by little.
The face, for starters. This is the previous one. I do think that there can be a little bit more color. I'm pretty sure that you guys knew about the temperature of color and how to apply it, right? For example, the rosy hue. There, I see rosy hue here. Usually, there's also other tones like slight yellow tones and other tones on the face. So I added that a little bit along with the dimension from around the nose, really, like this. Because I see that part of the shadow of the face, particularly here, I think it can add more hue to it so that there is a vibrancy. Because as is, it works in terms of the dimension, but you can really push it a little bit more with more color. Let's just put it that way. Now for the eyes, because we are on the 3/4 side, I put it a little bit like this because I imagine it this way. Right, let me do a little bit transparency. So obviously when you do eyeballs, right? Not eyeballs, I'm sorry. You have to imagine the eyeball placement in the face. So like this is the nose. Sorry. Usually it's a little bit here because it's 3/4. So I imagine that to be bordering like this instead of just this, I mean, it works too, but a little bit more appealing this way usually. So therefore I did it like this. And a little bit more contrasts around the eyes, things like that. Also, I noticed that the nose is a little bit. We can add a little bit dimension. Let's just put it that way, because this is a 3/4. This right here, I think, it looks a little bit to the side. It's a little bit from side profile, if you catch my drift, right? So we can add dimension to it. So instead of just this, you tilt the camera here a little bit to this. Is it making sense so far?
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
definitely see
Okay.
the forms better.
So yeah, things that like that a little bit. I only this folder, I think I did mostly on the face, and also the hair slightly. I think that the form is looking good. However, you can push it a little bit more with shininess, slightly, just so that it adds a little bit to the detail. Also, the type. I want to talk about that a little bit. I mean, yeah, sure, the camera is tilting a little bit from upwards, right? However, I do think, particularly because Ahri is a very voluptuous lady, so I think that I add a little bit of the tie because this is a little too skinny. Also, adding one of the other tie, because otherwise this looks like she's
Cut off.
Yeah, I don't know how to put it. It's probably a little bit better to show the other leg so that it doesn't look like she only has one. It's awkward, but you know what I mean. Just a little bit, slightly, just so that it shows. So this is this folder so far. Yeah, nothing too complicated. I think that's it.
Yeah, so like,
It's
Andrew, we're not done yet, Andrew.
I'm sorry. This is not bullying. I swear.
all right. So, I see that the metal rendering can be pushed a little bit more. Like you can add a little bit more hot spot, if you put it on black and white, right? So that it doesn't look as matte. With this, hopefully it looks a little bit more like metal. So when you do rendering, hold up, let me just. This is going to be TLDR. So basic rendering is actually first things first about trying to portray a dimension as believable as possible. And to do that, you have to introduce lighting towards an object, right? So let's imagine this is a ball. Sure, yeah, you can imagine that there is probably a dimension somewhere there, but if you add a little bit more specularity, it started to look like it's shining, right? If you keep on pushing through the specularity, it looks even more shiny. So material is like that. First things first, this is the specularity. How intense the light reflects on the item. And then you add, for metal, this one, right? You add a little bit from your surroundings. Maybe your environment is a little bit brighter, or maybe there is light falling. Like imagine it this way. So that is the light, right? We're going to imagine that there is a ground somewhere there. Yeah. Sometimes that light is going to fall to the ground too, and then reflects to the other side of the item. For metals, usually you can add texture in some parts, really. You can choose, maybe it's the highlight, maybe it's the other parts. But mainly my concern here is that while I like the color, I think that the metal can be pushed a little bit more. That's it. So yeah, do a little bit separation between the hot spot and the shadows, because otherwise it looks a little bit matte, right? You can also add some glare if it really catches the light, if you know what I mean. The bloom or something? Is it bloom, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, things like that. Little things that adds to the whole piece. So in this layer, I think I put a little bit on the metal textures, maybe the hot spot of the metal, so that there is not really clear separation. What I'm trying to say is that the value is significant enough between the shadow and the light, because metals tend to do that. Because you have to imagine metals, things like this. It really depends on the metal, right? But if you're doing a typical metal, it's usually reflective in nature. So the dark things here is actually reflecting something on the background. You have to imagine that too. And the light here is actually directly catching maybe light from the front, as I see that the lighting situation here. Okay, that's it. That's about the material.
metal
Okay, I
texture.
add a little bit more color on the skin of the body, and I softened a little bit the dimension on her bosom. I don't know, it's really awkward to say. You know, this area.
Yes.
And this part,
Yes.
because right before, I think there has to be a little bit separation. Now we're talking about the dimension of the torso, right? This is the deltoid, and then you have to imagine the cupid bow here. So I think that it should be like this, view from upwards. The clavicle or something. So yeah, this is the back, right? Yeah, there is a dent here, what I'm trying to say, between the deltoid and the chesticles.
Yes.
Okay, the pectorals, right? There is a dent here, so therefore I add slightly a little bit there. Also because there's these two, so yeah, mainly that. So there's a separation between, oh, this is the arm, the deltoid here, and then there's the front of the torso, things like that. Yeah, that's that. And a little bit about this accessories, really. It's just to make it look rounder. Overall, it's all about dimension and rendering, I guess. So that's on that. All right, what's next? Okay, let's delete this. We don't need that. Okay. After this, I did a little bit pushing. Oh wait, did I explain that I tilt a little bit of this? Because right previously I think that the direction is okay. So this is the curvature of the face, right? let's just use green because it shows properly. Right? The thing is, I think this headpiece is a little bit tilted slightly here. So I did a little bit adjustment there so that it looks like that. A little bit there, if you catch my drift. Just direction. So after this, the whole piece, I feel like it can be pushed more. So yeah, I used a little bit color dodge brush to pop out a little bit more of the effects, like the hand, the tails. I think it can look more magical that way. And the hair, what is it called? Specularity? Yeah. The shininess, things like that. This is just the final touch, just to oomph the artwork a little bit. And I add a little bit atmosphere. I just remember there, just so that there's a separation between the head of the character and the hair in the background, because this is quite far right in comparison towards her upper torso. So yeah. So the value is readable because previously it's a little bit close to her head. So that becomes a concern right away. Yeah, adding that a little bit. If this is supposed to be glowing, then you can add in this material. This is supposed to be reflective. This is too much, but you get what I'm trying to do. Add that a little bit so that there is an interaction between materials in the scene. So yeah, mostly there's that for this piece.
Okay, nice. Now we are for real done.
Oopsies. But yeah, okay.
That was my bag.
No. It's my bad.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It is insanely nice. Like, can definitely see it pops up more after especially the color dodge.
Yes.
Yeah. Color dodge does help a lot with the lightings and stuff. So
It sort of feels like those little changes actually impacts
Build
a lot to
up.
the piece. Yeah.
yeah. Let's go. So the next artwork is an Irelia Fan Art from Juanzo.
Okay. This is the original piece from Juanzo. I really like how you do the details. I think that like this,
It's a little bit hard to see in full because there is this grainy texture, but I can tell that you really tried your best with the hair texture, the texture of the what is it? A suit? Yeah.
it's a lot of work. I can tell. Okay, we're going to start. I'm going to close the whole folder first. Okay, first things first.
I think that this piece can be improved with slight movement of the hair. Right now, I think that the movement is a little bit stiffer looking. Mainly because there's a lot of straight lines if I see. Like this, going from here to here. Okay, let me...
Like this. Gosh. All right. It's showing. Here, right? It's quite straight in line. As opposed to that, I think that it could flow better if it has a little bit of curvature, like natural slight tendency towards curving like this. So with that, I did a little bit liquefy like this. Even this, actually, I think I did it a little bit haphazardly because there is a tangent here. But I think I did some atmosphere back later. Yeah, a little bit later, but that's that. For now, it's about the curve of the hair flow so that it flows a little bit nicer. Let's just put it that way. Because when it comes to natural looking shapes, right? There is a mix of curve and edges. So it's not all curve and it's not all edges. Usually there is a good mix of that. And illustration, in my opinion, part of it is actually trying to make nice silhouette. If you did the silhouette right, I think that you can fill in the rest a lot more. It will be much more successful overall as a piece. So silhouette is really important, actually. From far away, if you see it, does it look readable? So the separation of value, the shapes, the forms, things like that. So yeah, this is just adding, the next layer is actually just adding a little bit of the hair. Also, the next step is actually I did the arm. So as I said before, there should be a good mix of curve and edges. I think that this arm can be a little bit more natural in the tilt, like this. Usually it's dropping a little bit, sagging, because the arm is lifted, right? So if you can imagine it, like, this is the shoulder, and that's like the tilt of the torso. So this part is usually a little bit like this when it's raised. If you're particularly not quite a muscular character, let's just say, because we're even in muscular character, I think there is that angle too, because triceps, right? Usually it's here, coming from the, what is it called? The pectoralis, right?
Mm.
It attaches towards the halfway of the arm, right? And becomes, there's deltoid here, yeah, things like that. There is a natural sagging there. Just slightly. So not too much, just slightly, if you want to make it look a little bit more natural. So yeah, there's that. That's why I did it like this before the elbow thing. Because otherwise, previously, I think it's a lot more straight. It looks there should be more anatomical definition is what I'm trying to say.
Yes. And the forms
This is
flow
also
more
the same.
naturally.
Yeah. This too. Here too. Also can be curved slightly. Like that. Okay, so I'm going to delete this. Gosh. The next part is actually the knife. As I said before, you need to make sure that the whole shape of the things that you're trying to portray look as appealing as possible. So in my opinion, previously, this can be adjusted a little bit more. So I did a little bit reshaping. I'm not sure actually, is the design like this, but there should be some tilts and curves that makes it look appealing as overall shape. If you catch my drift. Also, if I recall correctly, I think that the sword is actually a little bit bigger. Is that knife or sword? I'm not quite familiar with the character, but I know that she has quite long sword, right? A little bit. So we might need to add that back in. Otherwise, I'm sure that you're trying to portray a perspective. However, also make sure that the shape is looking appealing from far. And then I did a little bit darkening here because this is the edges of the canvas. I think that the focus should be on her as a character, right? So yeah, a little bit darkening here, but I added some color to it so it doesn't look just gray. Now for the face. Overall, I think it needs a little bit more dimension. Now I do know that it's probably a little bit tricky because this is quite a frontal lighting. It's directly coming to her face, right? But that's where I think that references would come really handy. Also, one thing that really pops out to me from her face is that the sclera color is quite bright. I think you will find that if you color drop a person's portrait, then the sclera is not going to be that white. Typically, it's going to be slightly cooler in color in comparison to the rest of the body, unless you have jaundice. But that's, yeah, slightly gray so that it looks a little bit more natural. As for the rest, I think it's all about trying to bring the dimension of the face in. I see that you're trying to add some warmth to the face, like there is a little bit hint of redness. Maybe I should add a little bit. So that's nice. I think that's nice. There is a hint of red here, right? So the temperature of the face is this, in what I'm trying to say, the last artwork, right? Usually it's a little bit red around the middle area, and this is, I'm talking about person who has brighter skin tone, right? Because I don't know if you have watched Swatches or not. I think he did it pretty well. He explained how a darker skin tones color distribution in the face. That's a different thing entirely on its own. But for now, because this is the slightly lighter skin tone, not the slightly, this is the lighter skin tone, definitely. All right, this is the redness on where it should be red, right? And then it's a little bit yellow-green here. There is a distribution of color in the face, so I think that it's good to have reference on that. But yeah, mostly it's that. Just a little bit dimension on the face, like definition and things like that. And what was I trying to say? The sclera. Yes, it's not pure white, guys. I mean, it can be if it's stylistically so. I heard that for Arcane, for example, they like really bright sclera. So that's also an artistic choice on its own. So unless it is an artistic choice, I think if you want to come off as natural, then probably it's a little bit better to pick not pure white for the sclera. Because we have to remember, rendering a material is not purely just the local color. It has to get some effect from the light around them. Okay, so next step. I think I did something about the leg volume because previously, although I do get the gist of what you're trying to do, is the leg is coming forward to the camera. I think that the form is a little bit lost here, actually. So, in order to bring that back, unfortunately, I have to brush through all those details. It's unfortunate, but there's that. So bring back the volume a little bit, and then you can add everything else. It's essentially the basics of rendering. You have to get the basic form and volume right first, and then slightly but surely you add things to that to juice it up. The knee guards. This is, by the way, not final. I understand that there are probably a lot more nuanced textures and designs, but I'm just trying to say that probably the form needs to be reevaluated. This is the atmosphere that I was talking about, because the way that I edited it is actually a little bit harsh. This part has tangent, and so I push that back a little bit. Either that or just change the shape altogether, so that from far away you can see the whole silhouette. What is this? Right, the hand. The hand needs some definition too. So a little bit of what I think we can see from this hand right here. I understand that there is probably a knife here hovering, so that light comes from up above. But what I'm trying to do here is to bring back the form of the thumb. I think right now it looks a little bit like she has two pinky fingers, if you know what I mean. I think the shape of the thumb can be edited a little bit. Sometimes you cannot find references that you want. I get it, because each artwork pieces are very what is it called? Very specific, right? So sometimes you do have to make your own references. Maybe you have someone else photograph your hand and then you set up a lighting on top, so that you can have a lot more accuracy in terms of rendering. It's really important for things that are really complicated in nature, right? Like the hand. So I understand. Even now, I think that hand is a struggle for me too sometimes. One time I can nail it, the other it looks like ginger. So yeah, probably need references. It's just that, really. You can do that, or maybe consider this, so that it's not just this. It's like she's trying to tell the knife to come forward towards whoever she's trying to attack. She's trying to use her skill or something. So this is also an option, but if you're trying to keep the hand like this, I just suggest to add some, well, for one, the thumb needs to be looking like a thumb, and there is a temperature to hand too. Typically it is, for people who have lighter skin, of course, it's quite reddish hue on the edges of the fingers. For people who has darker skin tone, actually you have to remember there are people who has really dark skin on the back of the hand, but when it comes to the front of the hand, they actually have lighter color. It happens. Pigmentations are like that sometimes. Yeah. So that's on the hand. And I reduced the size of the head, actually, a little bit, slightly. I think that previously her head makes her, yeah. I mean, this is a stylistic art, but I do think that reducing the head a little bit make her look a little bit more like adult woman. So that's a little bit on that. And there is one thing that I have not yet do, but I just remember now, actually. Because this knife is glowing, right? I think that this dimension is actually the one that should be brighter. Because it's directly facing the light, right? I'll just do it on one of the knives. Is it working? Yeah. I know. No.
Do you maybe have any tips where we can look for more accurate references? Like, for example, previously it was the forms on the face, right? And if more complicated ones like hands, we can take our own. How do you normally find your references?
From other people's artwork.
Okay.
Mainly that. Or you do it from photograph of people
Mm.
in specific situation. You have to be a little bit creative about that. For example, there is if there is a scene of someone with cool lighting from below, maybe you will find. I mean, I personally used to do this. I find references of people playing with phone in the dark. Right?
Okay.
It's cool lighting. Or maybe you have. Sometimes you do have to make it on your own. If you know Dash 3D is actually quite a good way to just get the rough idea about where the lighting falls. You probably cannot take it one to one unless you're actually doing something pure realistic art piece. I mean, the style of the art is leaning towards realistic. Then yeah, you can probably take it one to one. But when it comes to stylistic art, like there is direction there, you probably need to take it with a little bit grain of salt. Just a general idea, but you have to work around it.
So it looks more appealing.
Yeah, but in general, I think if it comes to art style that are very typical, very not typical, I mean very specific, right? It's best to find other artists' art that you are trying to achieve. That's what I think. So anyway, just a little bit. It needs a lot more fine tuning because this is very rough PO, but you know what I mean. This is facing towards where the light is, so it's more logical for that to hold up. To get more light. As opposed to this one. But yeah, when in doubt, I guess you have to make your own references. Did you know that James Gurney, I think from Color and Light, right? That he makes that dinosaur illustration. He did his own sculpting before he did the actual painting. So yeah.
Cool.
There are people like him who are really dedicated towards the art, so they do this type of thing. Okay, aside from the this is not good rendering from on my part. I mean, you have to take it with a grain of salt. Okay, this is rough. I'm sorry, but you know what I mean. The background is, I think it can be adjusted a little bit so that the perspective is really prominent. Let's just put it that way. Right now, I see that there is shapes, but I'm not sure. Hold up. I'm not sure about the perspective. Is all I'm trying to say. Okay, It's not good. Right. Oh, I did an oopsie. There is a problem with the channel. Right, why aren't you? Excuse me? Oh, right. That's why. Okay.
It has more foreshortenings.
I'm just trying to figure out this part. It needs to look
Mm.
like it's on the perspective, you know.
Right.
For example, what
Mm.
is this? It's like the tree or something. Yeah, it has to be on perspective too. Like if you're not sure, probably it's would be helpful to draw the whole curvature of the cylinder or something. Just the basic shape. And then you can adjust the rendering accordingly. It's all I'm trying to say. Yes, that's it about the background. And yeah, that also goes with the front of this dark things too that is attacking her, by the way. Right? You have to imagine like the flow of this. Maybe it's here, right? And then, oh, this is the dimension. Before then rendering it accordingly towards where this curve is. I mean, you kind of have to imagine the 3D form. That's what this type of art usually do. It's trying to emulate a 3D form. Because this is quite different from other art style that is like is pure 2D. Like they are their strength is in 2D and they don't mind it not looking like 100% 3D. There is artworks that are like that, but with things like this usually you have to imagine the 3D form a little bit so that the rendering does not come out of nowhere. Okay, I think that's it for this piece.
Okay.
Yeah. So next artwork is a fan art of Winter Blessed Diana from Ellto.
All right. Okay. All right. First things first, I have to say to you, I love the effect.
Okay, the color is just working. It really looks like Northern Lights. What is it called? The Aurora?
Aurora, yes.
Excuse me.
Yeah. I like it. I like the color personally. I mean, I know that it's based on another artwork with similar color palette, but I think you pull it off quite nicely if this is a study, right? Excuse me. One thing that I noticed from this piece is I think you're trying to do a foreshortening of some sort. However, I think that you can actually pull her a little bit close towards the hand, because right now, when you're doing foreshortening, sometimes you have to imagine a little bit. For example, excuse me. Right, I'm going to do a super ugly doodle. So this is the face, this is the body, yada yada. I think this is the elbow, right? So yeah, things like this. I mean, you're trying to pull off extreme what is it called? Camera angle.
Shot, yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
But you do have to imagine where the dimension falls when it goes down. Like right now, if it falls down, I imagine it to fall quite low, like right here. That's quite long for a hand, is I'm trying to say.
Mm.
So because of that, I did this, which is pulling her closer towards the hand a little bit. Okay, let me try to. So I zoomed it out in a little bit, right? And then the hand, I tried to bring that back and do some clean up things like that. Now this cauldron, I think instead of facing there, it can be facing here, because after all, it's attached towards the forearm, no, the upper arm, right? Shoulder and upper arm, things like that. So the dimension should be towards here, like instead of previously. Is it to the design? Yeah, it looks like it's from the side,
Mm.
as opposed to just do it from a little bit on the front, which is where the arm is aiming at. So yeah, there's that.
Ellto also has a question for you, Sylvie. He wants to
Okay,
know,
yes.
how do you normally come up for story in thumbnails? Is there a proven way to hit every time? So maybe a story to help you think of the composition? And maybe we can answer that question first. Then there's the second one.
It's okay. Let's just answer that, I guess.
Yeah.
I think you need to, typically when you have a story in mind, right? You have things going on. So you have to break it down. What is the main thing that is happening? What is the what are the things that are supporting the main circumstance? For example, there is a scene in a bar and in a tavern, right? The waitress is trying to carry like jugs of beer, but like she slipped, right? So and then there is, on the background, for example, there is a knight trying to flirt with what is that, a sorceress, but then he got surprised, so he looks at the at the barmaid. Things like that. What is the main thing that is happening? So that is first and foremost, you must think you must think about that first, and then afterwards is the other things that support the main circumstance. What is it called? The main narrative? Yeah. You have to find out the main narrative and then break it down little by little. What is happening next, right? The others that are not as important as the first narrative, then probably you can make it a little bit to the back. Maybe you do it because that is a supportive elements in the whole piece. So I guess when it comes to things that are very complicated, we had last time is the scene of people practicing in a barrack of some sort. It's like fantasy soldiers, right? There are lots of characters. We have to choose, for example, two main characters that are sparring, and then the others are supportive. So there are, for example, a person on the background trying to, what is it called? Supervise their sparring. And then there are other people sparring too. Maybe it's not as important as characters, so they are quite far away and they're not as well rendered. Things like that. I think that the first thing you have to think about is make sure that you know what you want to frame first and foremost. So what is the main narrative of this story, so to speak? And then you find references of similar scenes, right? Then you can try to figure out how would you like to portray your scene. I think so.
Yes. Okay, the second question is
Yes.
that's like the beginning of the step. Now the second question is about like the end of it. So what's the final polishing steps? Do you use noise filters or like blurs, things like those? Perhaps like post compositing, is it?
Post compositing, I think it's really personal for person to person. I think there are people who prefer to use noise. There are people who like to use what is it? Camera blur. Maybe it's movement blurs, things like that. It really depends. Well, it really depends. What kind of art style are you trying to achieve? Because if you're trying to achieve traditional painterly look in digital, then you cannot use those.
True.
Right? If you're trying to do something that is cinematic, then use those. What are you trying to do here, right? There are many different ways you can do to achieve something according to their requirement, let's just say. It really depends on the project. Or if that is your personal project, that is your passion, what are you into? Are you into cinematic things? Are you into something that tries to emulate the traditional look? So every step that you take is trying to support that main goal, which is what is your vision? As for me, I don't tend to use noise filter because when it comes to editing, it's really hard because it tries to there's grains, right? And it distorts the color a lot. So when it comes to color picking, it becomes really hard.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes too much, it also sort of like flattens the depth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I see this typically with pieces that I intentionally put lots of subtle colors. It's a sad day because lots of details are just lost. But if you're trying to make cinematic look and you have very little time, it can be your best friend.
Yes. It can help you fix the details, right?
I think in that situation, just focus on the whole shape of things. Make sure the shape looks as correct as possible, right? And so you do the lighting part sparingly, rendering sparingly, and then do noise filter on top. It looks finished.
That's another trick, guys. Okay, we're also nearing our time. But it's okay. I guess
damn.
yeah.
Sorry.
That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, like if anyone wants to ask something, now's your time, guys.
Okay, let's rush it a little bit then. I'm sorry, I really didn't notice that the time flies really fast. Man, wow, okay. Okay, so I put it, I drag her a little bit towards the left because right now I think that the shoulder detachment and the upper arm is a little bit far. Or is it the design? I'm not really sure actually. But if it is supposed to be near the shoulder, then I put it a little bit to the left. And just some cleanup on the upper left here. This. Okay, that's it. That's it for this piece.
Okay, cool.
Really cool piece overall. Love it.
So it's mostly on the forms for this one, the foreshortening.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's all. Thanks so much for joining again, even though it's a bit after overtime, but I think we're okay with that.
It's a lot
So,
overtime. But yes, I think it's very insightful.
Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good night and have a good weekend soon. And remember to touch some grass.
Yes. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Bye bye.